welcome back to Cosmic Hearts Healing. I hope that everyone can hear me okay. I'm doing this off my phone. I am trying to get everything so I can do more of these. I have a microphone there. I just don't have time to upload everything today. So I got the new camera, I got the microphone, so I should be all good. But for today, I'm going to be using my phone, so I hope there's not a problem with trying to hear me. I just wanted to come on to talk about the law of vibration, the law of attraction, and the spiritual law of balance. Why I'm sharing this now is because with the Libra new moon and eclipse season, my spirit guides really have me focused on the law of balance and sharing that with you. This had started with the last moon energy. If you had seen my post, I had seen a meme someone shared, and the meme said that a bee doesn't tell a fly that honey is better than shit, something like that. But when I had thought about it, I was like, sure, to the bee, that is, the honey is sweeter. But for a fly, have you ever heard of a honey fly trap? So if a fly went into the honey, it would get trapped. As for shit, actually fuels it. So what that brought to my attention was trying to accept everyone where they are, to understand the law of vibration and the law of attraction, that the energy that I have within me, I'm going to attract from the outside of me. It is proven by scientists, lots of them speak about it, that our subconscious rules 95%, and Bruce Lipton has said even 99% of everything that we do. So really trying to tap into that subconscious will have a huge effect on what you attract. That's why I'm a big talker about healing core wounds, because the scientists say that for the first 6 years you are programmed into some of these things. Not saying anyone did anything wrong, it's just the way that we've been living life. And I don't want to point, if I ever talk about like this can happen in childhood, I'm not pointing it out as a way to point fingers at anyone. It's more of a way of sharing, like, let's be aware now, so if you have children, let's not pass this along. And for you to understand yourself a little bit more of where the wound came from and why it's there. So that being said, I always like to share a little bit about myself. I've been working on the core wound of abandonment since the start of my spiritual journey. So going back to 2016 is one of the first things that Spirit brought to my attention. They even brought to my attention the way that I attach to people. So my attachment style, I was fearful avoidant. I'm not going to go into details about all these things, but both of those programs, however they got there, were there, and my subconscious controlled me in certain ways. So working on them, peeling off the layers, and something that goes that deeply, I know my abandonment wound, Spirit pointed it out to me in eye surgery when I was like 2.5 years old. So I had to go back from that energy of my age now, so from 49 all the way back down to that age, and clear all that up. And that's if I'm not bringing something, if you believe in past lives, if you're not bringing all of that energy with you. Sorry, the smoke alarm's going off in another place. I don't know if you can hear it. So that abandonment wound was in my subconscious. And one of the things I tell people to do is to research core wounds, research how they're formed in childhood, research how somebody with them projects. Because if you research how they project, now you're tapped into your subconscious. At least you're aware of the things that you might be doing. Doesn't mean that you can stop them. Because if you get triggered, it might come up. So now that I've healed my abandonment wound enough that my attachment style now is fully secure. So the way that I'm showing up in my relationships in the physical world is different. The way that the way that I see the world out of a lens is different, emotionally, mentally. The way that I'm going to attract now spiritually is not going to be the same. And even if I attract it on any of those levels, I'm going to see it clearly, whatever that old wound was, and I'm not going to project out of that again. Unless if I choose to fall back down the rabbit hole and stay attached to that pattern, but I don't want to. So that's why it's important to understand, and other people in my world would be like, Jenny, why are you doing that? Why are you attracted to that? But that is, let's just say I'm the fly and they're over here with the honey. They can see these things clearly, but I could see it clearly too, but it's just what I needed in that moment. So trying to be understanding of what everybody needs in the moment, trying to understand, and for me, I can see people's core wounds clearly. It doesn't mean I have to share that with them, only if they are open. I now, since I'm secure, can accept everyone where they are and place them in a healthy place for me. So if someone shows up with a avoidant attachment or anxious attachment or like some other thing, and now I'm secure, that is just how I'm going to show up in a certain way to them. So that goes to my dream that I had last night, is that I had a dream that these guys were telling me and other women that being independent has something to do with being sexist. And I didn't understand, like in my dream, I was like, can you explain how that goes in hand with that? Like I wasn't really understanding. And they couldn't explain and like just laughed it off. So that to me had just meant if I'm living in a place where I am independence and I can share healthy interdependence, I'm sitting at a level here, not saying anyone's better or worse, just if I'm sitting in a place where I can offer healthy interdependence and they're sitting at a place of codependency, or they're sitting in a place of super independence where they don't know how to attach. Either one of these don't know how to attach healthy. Okay, so those people are not going to vibrate with me. I'm going to trigger them in some way, and I'm going to look at them and I'm going to be like, oh, I need a boundary here. Like this isn't someone that I necessarily want to enmesh with on a like daily basis. Not saying that they can't be in my life, just on a very daily basis. I don't want to be enmeshed with codependency, and I don't want to be enmeshed with like everything like that. So just a little bit to share about why acceptance and understanding and allowing people to be where they are. And then Spirit has me really wanting to talk about spiritual energy, because the thoughts that we bring out to the world is very important. The thoughts, if you have gifts, the way that you are projecting from those gifts and the way that you share with the world. I don't know who Spirit's talking to. I try not to attach it to a human because I don't know people that way. And I know when I was living in an energy of lack, I kind of projected judgment. So I thought they were judging me, I thought they were judging me, they were judging me. And I actually had a friend, Cheryl, I'll say her name. She's like, you just have you feel like a lot of people judge you. And that was, I don't know how long ago, but I feel like I've cleared that energy now, where I no longer feel judged by everyone. And if I'm seeing someone judging me, then I'm just going to send them love and light, and hopefully they can see that energy just needs to be healed within them, because we really shouldn't be judging. We shouldn't even be trying to control the world. We shouldn't be trying to control people. Like, if that person's doing that, I need to show the world, I need to prove to them, because actually the law of vibration, what they have within themselves, and the law of attraction and the law of balance, our spiritual world, they're going to attract lessons to learn that about themselves. So by you saying, I need to control, just showing that person that they still need to work on healthy control. Because our spiritual guides are the spiritual laws of the universe, the energy itself. If they naturally need to learn something, they're going to learn it just because they're going to be attracting it. We don't need to try to control. We don't need to try to let people see it. We don't need to try to let others, if someone's attracted to something, then they're attracted to something. And that's because they have something within them that's why they are drawn to that person or something. See, so it is like the energy of oneness, and really trying to understand it all, and just trying to focus on where your energy is. Not saying that I don't love and care about everyone else, because I certainly do, but focusing more on where my energy is and what I give to the world is super important. That is why I shared the story the other day about the deadly sins, but I will get into that in a little bit. So I got my screen up here of what I shared about balancing spiritual energy, because it's really just been on what Spirit's been talking to me about. So if we're sending out, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, our minds, overthinking, like, why is that person doing that? Why is that person doing that way? We're sending energy out, not saying necessarily we are cursing them, but we are sending out that energy from a place of lack. That's why I did that post about the deadly sins, because it will make you see, like, where is this energy coming out of me from? Is it coming from pride? Is it coming from needing more? Is it coming from gluttony? Is it so just really examining what I put up about that would be helpful at that time, to just try to look at yourself and see the dark, not saying that, trying to balance that darkness inside of us, not trying to point fingers like, you do that, so just trying to let Spirit guided me to, hey, look at these laws, look at those laws within yourself, and what energy are you giving to the world that way. So let's just say, coming from, I'm going to send energy out to the world from anger, okay? Someone with unbalanced anger can come from, it's from a lower vibration of anger. They come from a lack of emotional intelligence, not understanding the effects of anger, not understanding the effects of anger on the nervous system, how it affects and damages the frontal lobe, especially to children under a certain age. Sometimes they can be overly focused on self and not seeing the big picture. They probably lack healthy communication. It could be old programming. That's just what they're used to growing up. So that's just what they naturally know to do, is once they feel anger, just respond rather than sitting with it and looking at the bigger picture. Unhealthy perspectives, which can go even deeper into more than just anger. Like, why aren't they perceiving this clearly? Why are they judging this person? Like, it could go into like a lot. Another thing of unbalanced anger is having their own nervous system damage. It's very hard at first not to be reactive, because healing that fight and flight within you, it takes a lot of work, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and in the world. So trying not to respond, doing the cleansing for it, doing the healing for it, doing the meditations for it, learning about it, like everything that I just shared. So healthy anger is the total opposite. They have emotional intelligence. They know how to pause. They know how to feel into that fight and flight, freeze, fawn. So they know how all that feels, and they can take a step back and allow it to process. They can see the whole picture. They have healthy communication. They want what's best, not only for themselves, but for the other person. They have broken free of some of the old programming, if they were raised in that fight and flight and like responsive anger, and they have gained healthy perspectives on how the brain functions, how the brain damages the frontal lobe, how the brain causes damage to the nervous system. So that's why I believe the deadly sin of anger, again, talking about the sins, because that's a way to look at yourself. That's why I think trying to learn about anger is very important to bringing your energy to the world in a healthy way. So if you have somebody sending energy outward, and they're coming from an unhealthy point and they're sending it to someone in an unhealthy point, that energy is going to be balanced on the scale. So I never fully believe that the energy from an unhealthy person being sent to an unhealthy person just gets absorbed that way. Okay, and this is with our thoughts, with our like how we feel. I do know, since I work in a spiritual shop, I've heard stories about people trying to do other things spiritually to attack people. These things are real. They do this. So unhealthy to unhealthy, I think by the law of attraction, the law of vibration says both people have this vibration within you. Both people need the lesson. Both people are going to get that back. Okay? So sender can send out to this person regardless of how they're doing it, but it's going to go to both. The law of balance. Okay? So now sender is very unhealthy, and the person who's receiving is on a path of healing. They're trying to heal some of these things. They're less responsive. They haven't healed everything yet because it takes years and years and years. So now that justice, the balance of scale, the balance, boop, is tipped now. So now when sender tries to send, who needs that lesson? Who needs the lesson? So if they're sending it out of anger and pride, jealousy, gluttony, all these things, and this person has already done all that work, who really needs it? If this person thinks this person's judging them and they're really not, who needs that? So the energy is dispersed more towards the person sending it than the person who's going to receive it. This is how I look at energy. This is what I believe. If you have other beliefs, that's fine. I'm just sharing my truths. So if you have someone very unhealthy with someone who has healed all that anger, so very unhealthy anger with very healthy anger, that scale of justice is tipped even more. This sender can try to send over here, but it's my belief that every single spirit guide, or however you think the energy works, that has helped me heal this, I know how to face it emotionally, I know how to face it mentally, I've done all the work mentally, I've done all the work, I know how to respond if it's attracted at me physically. And I'm not saying I never use anger, I'm not saying I never feel anger. If I use anger, it's more towards like, stop talking to me that way, I don't believe to be treated that way, I deserve respect. So I do use anger. I also feel anger, but I'm no longer responding out of it. I do always think about the other person. You know, as a server, I can tell you some people don't think about me as a human being, and you know, so I'm not going to go there. But even if I get mad when I'm eating out, I'm always trying to become showing balanced. So yeah, so if this person's done all that work, it's just, this is where the energy is going to go back to, because I do believe the spirit guides, once you learn it within your aura, emotionally, mentally, like physically, spiritually, the etheric, once you clean that all out, the years and years and years it took to clean all that out, all the effects anytime anyone ever used anger against you, all the effects anytime that you used anger against them. That's why trying to heal in a house with anger, it could be very hard if both people aren't trying to heal, because you're just going to keep receiving and receiving. It will teach you how to shield it off. And that's only one energy. So this energy down here, who hasn't done the work with the anger, is, let's just say, coming out of not trusting the world, trying to control energy, trying to control you, wanting you to see the world differently, wanting to manipulate you. Don't look at the world that way. Don't see the world that way. living in a state of lack within themselves, which can be very hard to see. All these energies are hard to see within ourselves. It sits in your subconscious, okay? Coming from guilt, shame, pride, lust, gluttony, envy, like all of that. And if this person here has worked on all those energies and this person hasn't, and they're sending it out however they send it, again, even more of that's going to come back to them, okay? So really just sharing, because Spirit has had this within me, wanting to share this with the world to really help you to understand the law of balance, the law of vibration, and the law of attraction, and trying to hope for you to understand patience, surrender, compassion, and just trying to allow people to be where they're at. If I know it's really hard not to get entangled in that mesh, but hey, this is the energy that you are living in. How can I support you? But I also need to not entangle myself too much, because I can't get pulled into your mess. So and I could go more into these in depth of how I healed trust and the layers within trust, just like I did with anger. Every single one of those energies that I explained to you has layers to it. So that's why the spiral is really huge to me. You can't really see it. I have a whole wall here of like spirals everywhere. Spiral plaques, spiral art, spiral painting. So it's like the healing of the, you know, all those things, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in the physical world. So hopefully this helps you in some way, shape, or form. Thank you for joining me. I do one-on-one sessions where I can point out what you are currently trying to work on, what core wound you're working on. I always share from how I healed it within myself, just explain it to you. When I do cards, it's more like me sharing my stories. Spirit isn't saying to me like, that's what's going on with their life. They're saying to me, this is what's going on with their life, but share your story, please. So that's how my gifts work. Everything that I do is based on healing, self-growth. So if anyone wants a love reading, I point them somewhere else. If anybody wants, you know, and if I channel a loved one, it's always a channeling a loved one of understanding where they were at in their life, what they wish that they healed, what they wish that they saw within themselves, and how to heal the connection now with you and them. So again, every time I do these things, it is always based on healing, and that's what I asked for in 2016. I asked for healing, and it's what I've gotten ever since. So that's just a little bit about me. So if you're interested in schedule, you just go to cosmichearts.com. All right, thank you. Bye.